let me ask about love. People make fun of me because I talk about love all the time. But what do you think love is? Like maybe in the context of a meaningful connection with somebody else? Do you draw a distinction between love, like friendship, and Facebook friends? or is it a gradual?
Answer is no.
Is it?
It's all the same.
No, like is it just a gradual thing, or is there something fundamental about us humans that seek like a really deep connection with another human being? And what is that? What is love, Eugenia? I just enjoy asking you these questions.
I like
seeing you struggle.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, the way I see it, and specifically the way it relates to our work and the way the way it inspired our work on Replika, I think one of the biggest and the most precious gifts we can give to each other now in 2020 as humans is this gift of deep empathetic understanding, the feeling of being deeply seen.
Like, what does that mean? Like that you exist, like somebody acknowledging that.
Somebody seeing you for who you actually are. And that's extremely, extremely rare. I think that combined with unconditional positive regard, belief and trust that you internally are always inclined for positive growth and believing you in this way, letting you be a separate person at the same time. And this deep empathetic understanding, for me, that's the combination that really creates something special, something that people, when they feel it once, they will always long for it again. And something that starts huge fundamental changes in people. When we see that someone accepts us so deeply, we start to accept ourselves. And the paradox is that's when big changes start happening, big fundamental changes in people start happening. So I think that is the ultimate therapeutic relationship. And that might be in some way a definition of love.
So acknowledging that there's a separate person and accepting you for who you are. Now, on a slightly and you mentioned therapeutic. That sounds a very healthy view of love. But is there also if we look at heartbreak, and most love songs are probably about heartbreak, right? Is that like the mystery, the tension, the danger, the fear of loss, all of that, what people might see in a negative light as like games or whatever, but just the dance of human interaction. Yeah, fear of loss and fear of you said once you feel it once, you long for it again. But you also, once you feel it once, you might, for many people, they've lost it. So they fear losing it. They feel lost. So is that part of it? You're speaking beautifully about the positive things, but is it important to be able to be afraid of losing it from an engineering perspective?
I mean, it's a huge part of it, and unfortunately, we all, face it at some points in our lives. I mean, I did.
You want to go into details? How'd you get your heart broken?
Sure. Well, so mine is pretty straight. My story is pretty straightforward. There, I did have a friend that was, that at some point in my 20s became really, really close to me, and we became really close friends. Well, I grew up pretty lonely, so in many ways, when I'm building, these AI friends, I'm thinking about myself when I was 17, writing horrible poetry, and in my dial-up modem at home, and and that was the feeling that I grew up with. I lived alone for a long time when I was a teenager.
Where did you grow up?
In Moscow, in the outskirts of Moscow. So I'd just skateboard during the day and come back home and connect to the internet.
And write poetry.
And then write horrible poetry. And
was it love poems?
All sorts of poems. Obviously love poems. I mean, what other poetry can you write when you're 17?
I don't know. It could be political or something. But yeah. But
that was kind of my, deeply influenced by Joseph Brodsky and like all sorts
Nice.
of poets that every 17-year-old will be looking at and reading. But yeah, that was my these were my teenage years, and I just never had a person that I thought would take me as it is, would accept me the way I am. And I just thought, working and just doing my thing and being angry at the world and being a reporter. I was an investigative reporter working undercover and writing about people was my way to connect with others. I was deeply curious about everyone else. And I thought that, if I go out there, if I write their stories, that means I'm more connected.
This is what this podcast is about, by the way. I'm desperate alone seeking connection. I'm just kidding. Or am I? I don't know. So wait, a reporter, how did that make you feel more connected? I mean, you're still fundamentally pretty alone.
But you're always with other people, you're always thinking about what other place can I infiltrate? What other community can I write about? What other phenomena can I explore? And you're sort of like a trickster, and like a mythological creature that's just jumping between all sorts of different worlds and feels sort of okay with in all of them. So that was my dream job, by the way. That was like totally what I would have been doing if Russia was a different place.